What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 23rd episode of Trench Talk. My name is Anonymous22. My two usual co-hosts, NRV and LTR. NRV, how are we doing today?
Doing great, man. I actually golfed today. Played terrible. It's like super warm where I'm at. Like, oddly, it's supposed to be cold, but it's not. Yeah, I'm just sitting in a lot of spot positions. Market's been awesome, obviously. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about today. I think like some of the most interesting stuff we saw happen was Binance ramping up some wild listings on much lower cap stuff, I think, than some people expected, but I'm sure we'll dive into that.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. LTR, how are we doing?
Doing well. Just, enjoying the moment we've all waited for, right? Like, we joined, saw FTX, everything. Like, we kind of all deserve this if you've stuck around. So I think enjoying the fruits of our labor for sure. Right now, trenches are hot, but more so with established stuff. And so I'm waiting for that trickle-down effect to really come to, like, the gambling low caps. And then I think we'll have a lot of fun as the risk curve moves. But right now it's mostly, like NRV said, just chilling in your established spot bags, watching those go up and really preserving your ammo. Because, like Sol's going up so much to the point where it's harder to justify burning it on, random pump fund shit coins. Especially if it's going up 10% a day like it has. I think we just saw a 10K BTC candle, the largest in history, and now we're far into price discovery. So a lot of unknowns, right? Especially now, there's not much to go off of as far as historical price action or anything like that. We're kind of just free floating now. So we'll see what happens. Either way, there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. Like that, if you look at that daily candle, it's just the biggest. Yeah. Anyways, just waiting for the easy opportunities. I think there's a lot of free money to be made. Just wait for stuff that looks simple and pick up that money off the ground and outperform. I will say, don't start thinking you're a genius to all those people out there. That's how you round trip it all. So, yeah.
It's okay. We'll all get rich when we start our Trench Talk pre-sale token.
Yeah,
Limited
right.
pre-sale. Joking, by the way. But anyways, we actually have a very, very great guest today. Mr. Rec, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Well, could be doing slightly better if I was holding some of those Binance scam tokens, but we're changing on. Bitcoin's going, Solana's going,
Learn Chinese, buddy. I'm learning Chinese right now. I'm gonna get an internship. Work my way up a little bit.
Yeah, I actually hopped on WeChat after that listing to get some
alpha.
Get some alpha on the next one. Yeah,
straight from the source.
Exactly.
Are you dead ass in the WeChats now?
Look, I'm telling you,
bro.
Sometimes you gotta go to the alpha. The alpha might not come to you. You gotta be hunting.
Dude,
I've been in Russian Telegram chats. Just like doing everything. Google Translate every message. Like it's out there.
Yeah, I don't miss the ton Russians. I really don't.
Oh, I don't.
No, they were kind of lit. I'm not gonna lie, bro. We were talking about some life issues, like I don't know. The Russians get real esoteric, so they had some insight.
Yeah, the Chinese speak in poems and mysteries, but the alpha's hidden between there. You might find the next listing.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite thing is like I try to like find these like Chinese mooners and try to find the Twitters and stuff, and every time I click translate tweet, it's always like some like 2-sentence poem. I'm like, what the hell?
Did you see Bybit's tweet about GOAT? They were like
The golden dogs.
oh my gosh, did you guys see Bybit's tweet about GOAT? They literally got like the acronym wrong. It was so funny. Let me find it.
It's actually funny,
It was like recently. It was like just today, and they were trying to say greatest of all time, but they like mistranslated, and it came out as like Gota. Oh, it was
They
so
said
good.
greatest of them all. Who is the greatest of them all?
They said that
So it
instead
came
of
out as
greatest of all
Gota.
time.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to do a GOAT acronym. Oh,
Yeah, you could tell like the intern was sweating getting that one out. he was not feeling it.
Unfortunate for him. But anyways, Mr. Rec, would you be willing to kind of give a little background I feel like most people that listen already know you, but just for people that don't.
Yes, yes. May I start from the beginning? I started in 2021. Um, Not with much, roughly the equivalent of like one BNB, I would say. And I was a grinder. I think my very, very first purchase was Safe Moon, and I bought it because my friend saw it on like Coin Market Cap, and I had no clue about anything in crypto. And I bought it, and I was like, okay, this is the one. And I think the very next day, I had already sold it for a loss. And I think that is kind of a determining theme that continued on throughout my trading experience. I am very, if I were to use a word, conscientious about selling. I am not necessarily a long-term holder, or at least I never was. Although these days it's kind of changing a little bit here and there, but started in 2021. I was in my final year of university at the time here in Europe. I was doing computer science, and I was juggling that final year, kind of writing out my thesis, all of that, and starting out in shitcoins, figuring it all out. I was on the Binance Smart Chain back in there in 2021. When I joined, all the stuff was at all-time highs. Like the euphoria was here. ETH was $900 higher than it is right now. So it still hasn't even gone back to those prices. But I couldn't afford the gas fee. Gas fees were like, the gas price was like 400 back then, and I couldn't afford it. So I was grinding out extremely low market cap coins on the Binance Smart Chain. Worked my way up to about like 75, 100K at the end of the year. And me being very smart, I remember watching a TikTok of somebody sharing UST back in the day. And I thought, well, I mean, if I'm going to be stabling up, I stabled up almost the entirety of my winnings. I figured might as well earn some profit off of that. So I decided UST was my choice of stable.
Oh,
The TikTok
Yes,
alpha.
yes. I'll find it later on. It did not.
Making American salary here doing nothing, bro. Like, where it come from? I don't know.
I distinctly remember that
We gotta
TikTok.
find that TikToker now.
Oh yeah,
You
I'll
gotta
find it.
him.
I'll
You gotta
find
him.
it. It was
Gotta
big.
find
It was
man.
big. It was big. That guy definitely cost me quite a few months of my life.
Bro has it saved just to message the creator.
That was like the start of the villain arc for sure.
He's got,
Like,
he's got like a Tor browser open on the side, just rolling the dark web.
And it's really interesting because I think that actually helped me a lot with my ability to stay calm, because at some point I had grown up to like early in 2022, I think I'd grown up to around 750K port off of holding quite a few coins, and I decided, you know what? Today is the day. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to cash out a lot of it to my stable. And I think I cashed out like 85, 90% to UST. And I just had it there. And one day I woke up to like 10 calls and people were like, dude, UST is slightly depegging. And I looked at it and it was at like 0.995 or something. And I was like, you know what? It can't be that bad. There's just no way that all of this stuff is going to happen. There's no way FTX is actually going to crash. No way UST is actually going to go to zero. So I went back to sleep and I woke up in the middle of the night and I think it was at like 75 cents. And then I was like, okay, wait a minute. I'm down a significant amount of my portfolio here. What exactly should I be doing? So I thought, I weighed my options. Option A was like, okay, just wait. It'll probably go back up.
or buy more.
It can't be. Oh yeah, we'll get there. It can't be that bad. Option B was, you know what? Just firm the loss. Get out of the Titanic now before it sinks. You know, like whatever, you can make that back. And I decided, you know what? I'm gonna ride this one out. It can't be that bad. And it was that bad. It kept going down and down, and I think it went down to like, what was it, 26 or 30 cents. And at that point, I think my 750K was like 200K maybe, or like 150. And I thought, okay, I worked like almost a year for this. This is not looking good. What are my options? So option A, again, write it out. It's at 20 something cents. Are you just write it to zero? Option B was like firm like the 70% loss and then just make it all back later on. Option C was to put the remaining money I had that wasn't in UST into UST and try and flip it. So I decided, you know what? If I'm going to lose it, I might as well just lose it all. So I just put it into UST at like 26 or something cents. And I stayed up for like the next day or two with the UST chart as the only thing I had open and just waited and waited. And I think it bounced to like 60 or 70 cents. And I ended up getting out there. So it was altogether like a 15 or 20% loss because I'd put in like 20% near the bottom. I still remember using PooCoin charts and trading UST on PancakeSwap and bridging like 400k at a time. And the bridges would just sometimes not even work for like half an hour or an hour. And there was just straight up panic everywhere. It was crazy. It's quite surreal thinking back at it. Like if it ended up differently, maybe I wouldn't even be trading at all. But that was kind of my start. Throughout the rest of 2022, I don't think I made that much money. Realistically, though, there wasn't that much money to be made. It was kind of the year of doomsday, if I was going to be completely honest. Like 2022, I think the biggest play, I did paper a really good play back then. I think it was Colt. But the biggest play I remember was the Hunter's Dream or something like that. It was a Ford Foundry sell. And that was kind of what got me back on track because we hit that one really early, a couple of my friends and myself. 2023, though, we had Pepe. We had all the NFT people starting to come over to shitcoins. And that was when money started to be made. I remember, although I was never in Pepe, I don't think I've ever bought that coin outside of for a Pepe related pair or something. All the coins, all the betas, all the copes after that, there was just so much money flowing on ETH. It's kind of how Solana is now, just maybe a bit better, because there was so much money that you could make just flipping things, coins going to 100 million. It was just crazy. And we had all those no-name milady-faced people dropping pre-sales and just dropping coins, and it was golden days for ETH for sure. That was where I made a lot of my portfolio, and I stacked up a lot of ETH back then, and I rode it all the way out until early in this year, where I stabled quite a bit of ETH around February, March, which was another good trade that I made, which was kind of exiting before the whole chop and downside of ETH and a lot of people complaining. I swapped over quite a large portion to Solana. I think if I were to attribute my success to a lot of things, it was definitely timing the majors very well, getting in and out of ETH at good times, stabling at good times, getting back into the market at good times, getting a lot of Solana on the depths. Although I did watch Solana do a massive run from like $8, but I eventually just hopped in the train and ran. And now the majors are all running together. I have a good bag of Bitcoin, eat Solana while I do all my daily trenching. So, yeah. And also, sorry, go on, yeah.
No, I feel like I remember you talking about it in the past where it was like, you're so locked into meme coins. It's kind of like, we just keep stacking like the ETH and Solana, but it would have made so much better gains if you would like convert that ETH or Solana you're stacking into like different coins. And I feel like that's something I'm hopefully going to get better at next cycle, just because stacking ETH was just like, if you didn't sell in March, you were just dead. Like,
yeah, it was bad.
I do think there's something to be said about simplicity and focus, though. Like, Rek, you mentioned like you were only really focusing on like Sol, ETH, and BTC as your majors there, and I think that's important. Like, anytime I've tried to play, like, perps and rotations on alts, outside of, like, meme coins and stuff, and then try to done both, I've just gotten fucked and missed everything in both. So it's like, I do think there's something to be said of, like, focusing your attention and, maybe playing those major swing swaps like you were, but also than just saying, hey, I have more of an edge in the trenches. I'm not going to try and chase, alts on leverage and whatnot, because I think that's how a lot of people get killed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing. I kind of stick to what I do best, and that's what I advise for people to do. Of course, you can see a lot of P&L posts on your timeline. You can see a lot of people saying, yeah, I made 20, 30, 40, 50 mil on leverage, longing into
making me want to deposit like $100K into Binance right now.
and just long everything. Just long everything.
It'll be gone so quick, and I know it because I've done it before. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I approach things with like a pretty similar mindset. I mean, I've barely messed with leverage at all, and I've obviously put like years at this point into coins and was obviously NFT stuff as well. I think the three of us kind of came over from mostly doing NFTs, although I'm sure we all had some type of trading experience, just not like on-chain, trenching, meme coin, shitcoin, like related stuff. But I don't really do much leverage at all, and I know people are Omega printing on that stuff right now, and I was talking to Ponlord actually about this today. He thinks like once these majors like do cool off a little bit, I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, and I don't think it's like something that happens at like one exact specific point. I think we're slowly going to start to see it, like maybe if there is any chop, or if they just not necessarily go down, but if they do cool off, you're going to see like likely significant liquidity, not just from like normies, but from the people that are parked in these longs and making a lot of money. I think it's really going to trickle back into some serious meme coin price action.
Honestly, I think people overestimate normie. And I think a lot of normie bids, right? We obviously saw normie bids being huge with like Dogecoin and whatnot. But outside of that, I think a lot of it is just like rich people that, want to slosh around their funds and gamble more. Like I think that was part of why NFTs did so well. Is not necessarily that we had a lot of normie onboarding, but that we had celebrities buying Bored Apes at the top at 200 ETH, and it was just like, these rich people who got rich off alts or whatever it was. I think, to your point, Nerve, I almost think that's more important, right? Is that these rich whales from leverage or whatever want to come have fun on chain and they don't really care. Whereas, I think the normie who makes, minimum wage and wants to, instead of gambling on LeBron James sports betting, put it in some meme coin matters less than that rich whale.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just to add on to that point as well, the reason, even with Pepe and things like that, they kind of need some sort of catalyst. They need something to say, okay, there is actually more money to be made right now on chain than the millions or whatever I'm making on leverage. Let me go and check it out. Because that's not the case right now. And that's why if you look at the pump trenches, it's a minefield. It's a war zone. People are PvPing, getting in and out of coins. But the established coins generally tend to trend upwards over time because you kind of escape that small mental bubble of this is the play, I just need to make my money and get out, and reach that established zone of people where they're not really that concerned about the coins anymore because that's not even their main focus. So they check on it once a day, twice a day, go back to their daily Bitcoin trades that they do on leverage or ETH or Solana or whatever majors they're on. And you kind of escape into velocity in that kind of way. It's an interesting thing. But yeah.
Definitely, for sure. I guess we'll go ahead and hop into a topic. We have a couple that I listed down. And,
a lot of crime.
Should we talk about the crime first?
I feel like that's the biggest thing. Because I think that's we're going to keep seeing it, right? Like, I don't think this is a one-off event. We saw it with Nero already, and they just did it again, which this time is arguably worse. So, yeah. Let's get into it.
To be fair, well, I guess just for context, what they're referencing is Binance yesterday listing Peanut, and I think the one that's the greater example would be that Act coin. It's like an AI-related coin. To be fair, I think they did come out. I'm not sure if it was when they listed Nero. I believe it was. They did come out publicly and state that they're going to look to list more lower cap stuff going forward. I don't know exactly what the verbiage was on that. I'm not sure if you guys know either. So they did announce that, but
yeah, they did. We talked about it on the Moodang episode.
There just simply isn't a very clear cut process or certain indicators that we understand that they look for. There's just random stuff, obviously, that has happened as recently as yesterday that is going to catch people by surprise and will likely continue to happen. Personally, I think in those situations, it's more so driven by them looking to make money, right? I also think there's a dynamic of them wanting to bring coins onto their exchange that allows their user base to make money as well. Like, yeah, you can get more X's out of something that's listed at a lower market cap, but they had time to accumulate supply on those coins, even on Moodang when it got listed. Definitely on Nero, because that was an interesting one from like a PvP perspective, or arguably there were other ones that had a more established community. But you have very well established coins right now. Like, I don't think Popcat is on Binance. Goat's not on Binance yet. So it's confusing for sure. And we're likely to see more of it.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, to your point, I think that the supply control is essentially the biggest thing for them, right? Because they want to make sure that these products, the products being the coins that they offer their consumers, the consumers being the traders on Binance, are like good products, quote unquote, right? So I think you even saw it with the post sell-off from the listings, right? Like Peanut was already higher. They didn't have as much supply control on it. So Peanut sold off like, I think it topped out around 500, sold off to like 320, 350. But ACT did not really sell off big. You know, it went to like 500 and then it went down to like 450, 460. Because I think that's just a testament to like they really cornered it before they listed. And I think we're going to continue seeing that. I think it's just so interesting the coins they choose to list, you know, as opposed to like Fart Coin or any of these more natural coins that make so much more sense from a volume standpoint, from a ticker standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, than like these just random coins. That Peanut wasn't random, but this ACT coin was truly like, you know, out of left field for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I noticed that seems to be a common trend with these Binance listing is that the lower they list, the lower the market cap of the coins that they list, the higher the volume that they generally get. So if they list something like Nero ACT at 20 mil, they're pushing out so much more volume per coin simply because people want to speculate that the coin will go higher, right? So let's say they list it at like 20 mil, 30 mil or whatever. There's going to be so many more people that want to actually take that trade and speculate that, yeah, okay, this is Binance involved. This is going to go 10, 20, 30x from here. Whereas if they drop a fork listing, they drop a goat listing, they drop a listing of a coin that is already at 500 million market cap or above, they're not going to see the same level of volume. They'll see maybe a 20, 30% candle on the coin, and then it's just going to fizzle off. I think we saw that with Pepe when it originally got listed on the way up, although that was kind of a bit of an outlier. Different time, but for sure. But the price action where Binance kind of ended up being considered as a top signal for any coin that it got listed as, listed on. Like, they kind of maybe didn't want to have that stigma around their listing, decided, you know what, we're just going to go for lower coins. We're going to have our listings be something that, you know, you want to hit that. You want to get that listing. You're not going to be seen as a top signal. You're not going to be seen as, you know, Binance listed, it's time to get out of the coin, you know. Although that kind of seems what Binance futures listings are at these days. But that's another can of worms to deal with. But it is really interesting what they're going for. It seems almost like a lottery sometimes.
Yeah.
I've gone through the ACT Twitter and it's indistinguishable from a coin that is below 5 mil. Like, it's really interesting what they have going on there.
Yeah,
and I think it's
that one at all.
I don't.
Yeah, I think the selection process is more the thing that confuses me the most. Like, yeah, it's okay to like, right? I mean, okay is subjective, right? But of all the coins that were in that 10 mil range, they picked this one, and it's just like, what? That's so odd to me. You know, they could have accumulated any other one that maybe had a better narrative, maybe didn't like have like this full rug history, and I don't know. It was just like so odd, and maybe it's because the Chinese or something or some other user base was bullish on this coin versus, like, I think we kind of saw that with Nero, where, you know, that CTO team was almost entirely Chinese, so a lot of people didn't even know about it until it got listed. So yeah, it's just fascinating. I got to do wallet research. I got to run through that Twitter, and the whole thing's definitely odd.
It is very odd. I think sometimes it may even be because the coin is confusing or doesn't have a clear narrative for us that they do get things like that listed, because it's so much easier for them to get a foothold in the supply when you don't have a dedicated core base of people who are bullish on the coin and have a clear narrative on it. If it's not so clear, you have essentially a shakeout event similar to Nero with Vitalik selling and Act with their deployer. I don't know, the person running the project selling all of their tokens as well. Kind of some sort of black swan event happens, full distribution. They accumulate off of that. They get it listed. I don't know. There's levels to the cabal.
Alpha, though, I think because that's the only line I see between the Nero and the Act, right? Is that they both have that black swan, whereas the key head figure or big holder sold off. Vitalik, full stack Hitler, his Nero bag, and then this Act dev was bull posting for weeks and weeks, and then suddenly gives up and full stack Hitlers. So maybe they're just addicted to that full stack Hitler. Maybe they like saving them, which is a good point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Binance is always was up to some weird shit, especially with CZ gone. I feel like I don't know, the whole guy tweeting and everything. I don't know. It's a little weird, but hey, I mean, if you're a trader, just stay up all night. Since they want to, make these listings at 2, 3 a.m. my time, which is absolutely stupid.
I woke up to Peanut at 500 mil. I'm like, what the fuck?
They hate me, man. They're trying to not see me win, bro.
You really need. I think Shady was talking about it today. Actually, he's a prior guest on Trench Talk. He was talking about looking into deving Binance listing auto sniper or something.
Oh, people already have that for sure.
Oh, they definitely do. And that's
you
not just for Binance
way,
too. There's big candles off other coins, but obviously Binance is the outlier here with doing some of these outlier listings for sure.
It will be interesting to see if they keep doing this, right? Which they really haven't. This is kind of the second one like this, besides Nero. It will be interesting to see if it eventually curtails off and then it's not as powerful anymore. If they keep doing it more and more into the cycle, is it going to become a Moonshot effect? Whereas at the start, the Moonshot listings for the app were huge candles, and now it's just kind of oh yeah, I got Moonshot listed, that's cool, and not much pump off of it. Obviously, I think Binance is much larger and it introduces a much broader consumer base for sure, but it will be interesting to see if those get less and less.
Yeah, I think that might actually be the case. But the thing is, with Binance, from what I've seen, a lot of the times you have the initial volume curtail off, and then out of nowhere you just start seeing people blast into the coin. It's almost like there's some sort of imaginary force that wants these coins to go higher, and they will make sure it goes higher by any means necessary. I think they're definitely smart about it as well. I mean, they're of course banking off of this to a large degree, off of the trading volume of the coins, and then off of being in the coins themselves. Sometimes, even in the case of Act, you didn't really see many people buying before the listing. There wasn't some kind of, this guy bought a couple 100 SOL or 1,000 SOL right before they drop the thing. It doesn't really happen. You get a lot of people where they just buy immediately at list. I think there was a wallet that bought 1,500 SOL on a couple seconds after the listing announcement and never sold all the way up. I think he's still holding right now. And I think he's up 30,000 SOL. And you got to wonder, okay, A, it could be some kind of, Binance listing snipe and he's just holding. B, it could be some kind of person where they have the information, but they can't buy before the time, where you have an NDA or whatever. In your rules, it could be that, of course, no, it wouldn't be said as insider trading if you bought after the announcement, even though you were ready, set, go. The announcement drops and you just immediately buy. I think there's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes for sure, though, and I think they will definitely lose a bunch of power if they continue listing. But at the moment, I feel like they could get away with it. Nobody knows exactly what they're doing, and that's to their benefit.
I think it also helps that they are Chinese, right? We just don't, like you said, a lot of stuff's going on in WeChat, a lot of stuff's going on in different languages, and I think especially with Europe and America, we get so entrenched, and we kind of forget that there's a whole nother world trading, when we're asleep, literally, a whole day's worth of, there's another me trading while I'm asleep for 8 hours or whatever it is, and sometimes that's wild to wrap my head around, but yeah, so I think they take advantage of that as well, and they tap into that for sure. Like those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. things. It's like I think they do it on purpose, Anon, because they're like, oh yeah, all the burgers are asleep, dog. We're gonna eat, and then sell on their heads when they wake up.
Yeah, it definitely should be interesting. Let's see. Looking at this topic list, because I'm tired of the
I got something I want to ask Rec.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier on when you introduced him, I think most people listening probably know him. Rec is an absolute like demon on ETH, and I think a lot of people have like either heard about or seen the amount of money he's made, and you obviously got some good publicity or attention from the Banana Olympics competition. I don't even know how much you ended up making off that, but like everyone started with 1 ETH and you made like millions, right?
Well, not millions, but it was. I think it ended at like 750K, I believe, in a month off an ETH. Okay. And I think ETH was like 2.5K then, or 2K, something like that. So
yeah, and that's just like a challenge wallet. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
But I guess like what I'm getting at is obviously ETH is in like a very different state right now than it has been historically, and I think there's multiple dynamics that have caused that to happen. Just pump fund in general, the volume being on Sol, and like the largest runners overall have consistently been there throughout what we've seen in this cycle so far. And I don't think this cycle's anywhere near from over yet, but I'm curious like how you're viewing like ETH right now, but also the differences between ETH and Sol. I know that I've talked with you a little bit, and it sounds like you are a little bit more focused on Solana right now, maybe just because you feel like you've been forced to, but I'm just curious to like hear your perspective on all that and talk about differences between the two.
yeah, that's a good point. The market is completely different from the time when I was doing the Banana Olympics on ETH, but I think the one thing is, maybe it was a slight misconception, is that I was entirely ETH focused, which actually isn't the case. I try to the best of my ability to be wherever the money is and to try and adapt. So sometimes it looks to be like, oh, as of recently, Rec came to Solana and he's focusing on Solana, but I try to be everywhere. But I think ETH at the moment, ETH the coin, I think it's a really good coin to be in. ETH the chain, you can get away with 10% of the amount of attention that you would have had to put in the past and still be able to hit the same amount of coins. It's just, if I were to compare it to a market, it's extremely similar to 2022. It is not a good market. Objectively, it's not a good market to trade in on ETH. And when you see that, and when you see the money on Solana, you have an option. You have all your tools built for ETH. You have a specific workflow built for ETH. You have all your friends that trade on ETH. You don't really have anything on Solana. Now, this is before all the big runners have come in. You have your option now. Do you get into Solana, have somebody build you out the tools, or learn the infrastructure, learn how the chain works, figure out how everything goes on Sol, or do you stay where you're comfortable and you have an edge because you have so many hours trading a specific chain? And that is actually the second time I've made kind of a big move. I mean, initially I was trading on BSC as I was before, but eventually after late 2022, early 2023, BSC to ETH is the same as ETH was to Solana, is to Solana right now. So I was in that same dilemma in the past where, do I move to ETH? I have all my tools built for BSC. I have my entire workflow, all my bots, everything for BSC. Do I kind of make that plunge? I think because I made that plunge before to go to ETH, it was easier to go from ETH to Solana. Of course, I then started seeing a lot of people who were extremely experienced. I mean, on ETH, having good success on Solana and kind of making strides in that way. Kind of took some advice, looked at what people did. And primarily I would say I have 75% of my day spent focusing on Solana coins, whether it be on meme scope, looking through older coins with established communities, or just going through stuff on Solana. I do not pay as much attention to ETH at the moment. I do have some side monitors always ongoing because, of course, ETH still occasionally has that good play that comes. But at the moment, what my suggestion to anyone would just be follow the money. I'm keeping an eye on other chains that are dropping. There's Abstract chain that's coming up that I'll be keeping an eye on. Uniswap is dropping their chain. There's always quick money to be made. And if something is here to stay, I think the best skill you can have is not to fade it during the best days that it has. So even if you've spent years and years grinding on ETH or years and years grinding on Solana, things can change up at the drop of a hat, and you need to be ready for that. You need to kind of not be like, oh, but I have all my infrastructure and I'm so used and I have an edge. Yes, it's good to focus on stuff when you have an edge, but I think edges in this case would refer to kind of the platform as a whole. So in my case, on-chain would be encompassing ETH, BSC, Solana, whatever. The skills translate to across chains, but they wouldn't translate to, for instance, leverage or swinging something on centralized exchanges or whatever. But I think the biggest mistake that even some of my friends have made was being too slow to Solana and then missing something like GOAT. And after GOAT, they're like, you know what, maybe I should take a look at Solana and get into things. You know, maybe I should actually start paying attention because there's Mooners here. You don't want to be that person that's kind of the last person to join the train because you were too lazy or too stuck up in your own ways, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, I think although I was known primarily as the ETH trader, I silently have been looking at Solana for a long time and trading on Solana, and I think that ended up working. I think one thing I definitely regret was putting off MemeScope for a long time. I kind of saw it as like, you know, this is full brain rot. I'm not going to waste my days looking at MemeScope, but realistically, couple good filters, couple grinders that you work with, a good friend base, you can get everything done. And I think adaptability is the best skill that you can have on chain, no matter the size of your port. You can't be too stuck up. I think that's the most important thing.
I mean, knives get dull, right? So
exactly.
You have to buy a new knife or you have to resharpen your old one. And it's like, I think people oftentimes like, oh, you know, I've seen this a lot with other people, is that they had such a good edge, and then it's just like they just don't realize that, like, you know, it's not a good edge if it lasts forever, right? Like then I wouldn't even say it's an edge. No good edge lasts forever. And obviously you still have a huge edge on chain ETH if it came back, but I think being able to adapt, like you said, is really good. I mean, look at people who are early to Tron or Sui. Yeah, those might be kind of dead meme-wise now, but you still could have printed millions. And those weren't even alive for that long. I think you just gotta fade your own laziness to do stuff and to adapt, and then because if you're being lazy about something, chances are everyone else is too, whether that's bridging or whether that's trying something new. So I always try and fade my own laziness.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I remember there was that premier coin on Tron, and I remember everyone was like, yeah, Sundog, yeah. Exactly. And I remember...
I was late to Tron. I was like, typically I'm not, but I didn't think that would stick around. I moved over late, made some money, but...
Exactly.
Another example, it's just like, dude, don't be lazy. Just get in there. Be early.
Be early.
Pun was saying on like the start on our first podcast or whatever it was, he was saying to fade your own laziness. Like, cause like I remember BRC20s, ordinals, like everything, man. I was like, oh fuck, you know, it's gonna be so hard to bridge to Bitcoin. I hate Bitcoin. It's so slow, so hard to use. And it's like, well, everyone else is thinking that too, right? So. To be contrarian in that case, you just got to do it. And I think that's maybe more money. And like downside is just having money there. Like even if you did bridge to Sui and bought a ton of Sui, you'd be up a lot of money right now, even if you never traded memes, because Sui 3x. Like
exactly.
So I think, you know, there's not much downside to just like bridging or just like being there just in case. And if nothing happens, nothing happens.
Hey Rick, have you paid for like ultra custom tech to be built for yourself before? I know you mentioned that, like do I set up a similar infrastructure on like a new chain, whether it's Solana, I think is what you were talking about in that case. Like, do I pay somebody to do this for me? Like, there's tons of tools that exist right now on really all these major chains that people are trading on. And this past like year and a half or so, we've obviously seen like the rise of Telegram bots that have made it a lot easier for people to snipe stuff, bribe on chain, and doesn't require necessarily the custom contract work that you've seen stories about for people on how they would execute on BSC or even ETH for a long period of time, and probably had massive edge in doing so. Have you paid for like custom tools to be built for yourself in the past on any chains?
In the past, yes. At the moment, I don't think it's necessary anymore on currently established chains. I mean, there's kind of like an order of operations where the newer the chain is, you're at the stage where people don't have the expertise ready, right? So the chain starts out, custom tools rule everyone. There's no proprietary tools. There's no like Maestro, there's no banana gun. Custom tools, you're going to eviscerate the competition. Then you reach the point where there are custom tools, but it's generally like a command line interface. And you need some level of experience to be able to utilize it. But like there's a couple of proprietary tools. There's like Discords popping up with developers selling licenses and stuff like that. And then you get to like the mass adoption stage where you have things like Telegram bots, like Maestro, Banana, whatever it may be. And at that point, the edge that you would have had from having a custom tool, unless it has a specific use outside of the generic tools that it has, generic tools that other people are using, your edge reduces more and more often. So you could see something like Terminator back in the past. His biggest snipe was like that Mr. Beast coin refinable, and he sniped and made a couple million, and everyone was just completely shocked that it was even possible. And now sniping is just completely, it's just every day. Like sniping is not a foreign concept. And I think another thing is that the skill level of the average market participant is increasing every single day. Sometimes you do need custom stuff just to stay afloat. Personally, on Solana, I don't use anything custom, and I don't think you need to use anything custom. I think if there's something you need to use, you can find it available and public and free to use. In the past on Ethereum, it wasn't always the case, and I did use custom tools back on Ethereum, I'd say 2022, early 2023. The advent of Telegram bots kind of made it that I didn't really need to use anything custom. There was a brief period on Ethereum where you needed some sort of specialized tool to hit certain launches. I don't think it's necessary anymore. So I think right now, with the markets that we're dealing with, sometimes sometimes you don't need bots at all. Sometimes it's just about conviction and entries and understanding that anything that's good or has gone up for an exceedingly long period of time has granted an entry to anyone, no matter what their level of skill was, if they decided that they wanted to buy the coin. Peanut was sitting under 100k for hours. Goat was sitting under 100k for hours. The best coins are never the coins that you need to compete on anymore, at least on Solana. On ETH, it can be different because of the competition and the amount of hype some stuff may have before launch. But a good rule of thumb on Solana is generally if someone or many people are expecting a specific drop from a specific person, it's never going to do well over a long period of time. And just as an aside, I was mentioning Unichain slightly a few minutes ago, and I think it just went live, yeah.
Neo already calling a coin, bro. Let's go.
he is on that grind.
Unit Doge, let's go. They already deployed. The Brazilians are on it. They're
cooking. Honestly, that's a grind. That's a grind.
I don't blame them, but the Brazilians be on that shit, dog. Like anytime a new chain pops up, it's something Doge or something dog, and they all call it immediately. It's hilarious.
It's they found it. Look at that.
Uniswap's own chain.
Yeah, this is actually Uniswap's chain.
Another L3, bro.
It's another one.
Another regurgitated.
Okay, but Ape Chain cooked and I faded because I was like, oh, ain't no way fucking Ape Chain. Like, it actually cooked and I was like, what the fuck?
The AC found out to come out and shill a coin for it, bro. Bro's down bad. It's whatever, though. But anyways, I wanted to reiterate a point that you said of, like, as of recently, like, it's just been better to, like, start believing, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like,
hard, bro.
In the past, you know, I was very GD and, you know, a lot of in and out trades, you know, finding Twitters, you know, basically buying their launch, getting out over time. Maybe here and there trying to believe in something, but, like, it was just so bad, and, like, the, like, percentage rate of you, like, having success and trying to hold a coin was very, very small. But now it's definitely increased, and I feel like we've just almost been trying to, instead of find new launches and stuff, more of so, like, when something does launch, like, you're trying to determine, like, is this going to run like fucking crazy or not?
I think it's just mass, like, Stockholm syndrome, and I think it's, like, mass, like, the op cost used to be, the op cost of holding was worse than selling, right? Like, the chances of something mooning were very low, and even if you did, like, cheat or whatever at 800K, it would only run to, like, 5 to 10 mil, and you're like, okay, well, whatever, not that bad, right? But now I feel like with stuff like Peanut and Act, it's just like you're almost scared to sell, and, you know, that's like that's like the best way to describe it is, like, even if you're up exorbitant amounts at, like, 5 to 10 million market cap, you're like, wait, this is only 5 to 10 million market cap. Whereas, like, you know, before 2 months ago, if I was up exorbitant amounts at 5 to 10 mil market cap, I'm DCA and I'm clipping hard. Like, but now it's kind of like you'd almost rather round trip that for the chance that, you know, it's the next Peanut, it's the next Act, it's the next Go, whatever that may be. So it's definitely interesting. And I think that psychology will eventually hurt people, right? Like, UniPCs, I'm going to shout him out again, but he had a good tweet back October 7th. He was like, we got to all remember that even if we are, you know, going into a market of full abundance and of easy mode, eventually, I'm not saying when this is going to happen, it could be 10 years from now, all these coins are going to be zero, like 99%. You know, if you look at meme coins, if you look at altcoins from last cycle, only a few survived. So I think it's just important to remember that, like, there's always another coin, there's always another trade. And if you're up big, if you're up life-changing money, change your life, right?
Yeah, but what if Binance is going to post my coin, bro?
Yeah, but also, like, sometimes I find solace in myself being like, yeah, I wouldn't have held that long. Like, would I have held Act that long? Like, if I truly, I don't know, I definitely would have gotten shaken out by, like, the dev selling or, you know.
Yeah, you can't be upset with missing a coin like that. Like, I wouldn't.
I don't
have
get
been
upset,
holding
yeah.
that one. I'm fine with missing something like that. I think that, to your point, like, talking about believing in certain coins and holding them, it's probably more frustrating for some traders than others. I would even argue probably most, because people are, like, so conditioned to, like, get in and out of things quickly. I think that's probably the majority of, like, the nature in which a lot of people trade in crypto. So, like, for them to, like, completely change their approach to the market, like, hold a lot of size in the coin for a longer period of time, like, that takes a major adjustment for people. I've even heard other people, like, in DMs with me saying, like, man, I really need to start doing that. What other coins do you think would be good to do it on? Because it's the right market to do it in, for sure. But
well, I think also
you just have to also have a plan on, like, how long you're actually going to hold it for and how you're going to get out.
I think you can't fake it, right? Like, you actually have to believe in it. Like, you can't fake conviction. So, like, I'm never mad. I'm more mad at something I was right about conviction-wise and then executed wrong, rather than, like, if I didn't have conviction in something and I sold for profit and it mooned, I'm like, well, whatever. I didn't really have conviction in it, right? Like, there was no way I was actually going to hold through this because I didn't actually believe in it. But the ones that piss me off are stuff where I'm like, yo, this could actually be big. I really believe this could go to X market cap. And I'm right, but I execute it wrong. Like, those are the ones that really get me because I'm like, oh, well, I was just dumb and didn't listen to myself. But I think, I think a lot of people try and fake their conviction on coins and then get mad, that they didn't have conviction in a coin that they would have never had conviction in the first place. And it's like, well, you just got to let those ones go, and you got to focus on the ones that you do believe in or do research on.
Yeah, I think that is definitely one thing that I'm consistently learning from NRV, UniPCS, a lot of these good traders is, yes, I came from kind of a bear market mindset where you got to secure that profit and you need to take your money and get out immediately. And it was like that for a year and a half almost. And I kind of came through from that. So generally for my port, it's kind of a slow, steady grind of take money from this play, money from that play, getting into Solana, kind of stack it up over time. But when you get into a bull market, that is not the right way to play things. You just need conviction on a certain play, park it in there, and just wait, you know? And that's how it pays off. That's how you get the big win. But of course, there's two sides to that coin. Of course, it can go wrong. When it goes wrong, it can go very wrong. So it is, my risk appetite is very, very minimal. But as I kind of stack up more wins, it kind of becomes more and more loose. So I found myself holding things a lot more, which is a blessing and a curse. Sometimes not necessarily the right things, but at least if you are convicted on something and the market decides, you know what, that was not the right thing to be convicted about, at least you can kind of analyze it and say, okay, this is where I went wrong, rather than you being convicted on something that's actually correct, and then in the last moment of some kind of weakness, you like paper it or whatever, and you need to just have that confidence in the trades that you make, that the trade you make is the right decision, and kind of block out the noise. And I actually saw something good about that recently, where a lot of people kind of use wallet confluence on Solana, right? Where they buy into a coin and then they check who's buying after them and who's selling after them, or who bought before them and is selling, to kind of decide whether or not they should be holding or selling themselves. And I think that can be extremely detrimental to the success of your own trade. You could be like, oh, this really good insider that, unless, of course, for instance, because someone bought is the reason that you bought, then of course that is your trade thesis. But if someone's like, oh, someone else is clipping out of this coin, should I really be holding this? Maybe I shouldn't be holding this. You know, maybe I'm just going to sell here, you know, and then you sell, and an hour or two later, it's 5 or 10 or 20x from where you've sold, and you're like, okay, why did I sell? And sometimes that confluence can be extremely detrimental because it can affect your mind. I think that's one thing that I did that was very different to others. I don't like tracking wallets. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think it just makes me trade worse, and it distracts me. Sometimes I have wallets tracked, but I have it all muted, and I only look at it if there's something, either I'm in bed and I'm just scrolling on my phone and I kind of want to get a feel for what people are doing. But in general, I tend not to look at wallets at all, and I just go off of what I think is good or what other people share that they think is good, and I'll just look into it and decide if I want to take the trade or not. So I think that's one way I differ from other people.
Yeah, the way I've always put it is like, you know, people always talk about like borrowed conviction. Well, you know, the word borrowing means you're going to have to give it back, right? So it's like if you're borrowing conviction and you're borrowing results, then you're just going to give those results back. So it's like you really just have to synthesize stuff for yourself. And, you know, maybe I need to look at wallet trackers less. I'm such a huge pocket watcher, such a huge wallet hawk, and I think, you know, it helps me be early to a lot of things, but it definitely doesn't help me hold a lot of things because, you know, I'm constantly looking at what the activity is and whatnot. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also the same way. I think the past month I've been really trying, and I mean, you know, it's still a work in progress, but I definitely was like, oh, okay, the guy I tracked sold, so I'm also going to sell. But recently I've realized, like, okay, I've made a decent amount of money. I think it's time to where, you know, if I were to round trip this, like, I wouldn't be too mad at myself. Like, I almost got to try at this point. Like, it's almost like you miss so many mooners. It's almost like you have to change something. Rather that be maybe locking up some supply in a different wallet, or one thing I'm going to start trying to do is multi-wallet a lot, just due to the fact that hopefully my dumbass can forget, honestly, sometimes. Because, I mean, it really is a thing. It happens all the time. Just, you know, you almost just kind of want to... It's not only just forgetting that you have it, it's also like just kind of stepping away from the trade and letting it develop, because so many like wishy-washy things can happen within the trade. It's just,
bro. Things can go like negative 99%.
It's just an interesting world, and it's a lot of shit to deal with. And you know, the hardest thing to do is sell. It's really the hardest fucking thing.
Neo is up 5x on Unidoge, guys.
Look at that. All it took was him.
The Brazilians. Let's go.
That was amazing. I think
how much have they contributed to the growth of Brazil's GDP?
Bro,
no, like actually, how much have they contributed to the growth of Brazil's GDP over the last 4 years? I want to know that.
I think they got a lot of people out of the favelas with the activities.
I
if I'm gonna
swear,
be
bro. I'm
completely
not dogging
honest.
on them. Like,
Got 'em out, baby.
bro.
Let's go.
I don't know,
Moodang.
it still looks lit. I watched that Rio movie, you know, from DreamWorks when I was a kid. That shit would look lit.
It's interesting. I mean, some people they're just making coins on a new chain and then saying they found it and it works out.
I will say it's interesting how, like, kind of like how wallet tracking edge has eroded, so too has dev edge eroded. Like with Pump Fund and, you know, with all these platforms now, it's like, gosh. You know, I remember there used to be, like, especially on ETH, I know you'd know the same, there were, like, 5 devs. And you just swap between them, like, oh, is this person's launch? Okay. Is this, you know, a Chai launch? Is this a TDev launch? Like, who is it? And now it's like, you don't, I mean, there's still definitely those same people, but, like, even now it's just, like, you don't always know. I mean, I assume it's a lot of the same people, even on Solana, even on Pump Fund, but I think that accessibility has both been a blessing and a curse, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, I feel like now the kind of the link between the developer and the coin has kind of been severed, especially in the way where you get pump funds that are deployed by just straight up random people and then get picked up by whoever the pump fund was made about, right? I was actually recently, I was going through the deployers of a lot of these big coins, and a lot of them are serial deployers. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I think I was looking through. I don't even remember. I might have to just find this real quick. But I think out of the top like 20 coins over 20 million on the Pump Fund creation board, I think like 6 or 7 of them have developers that are dropping every single day.
Yeah, like
They've
Macy
never
Dev,
stopped.
Pop
Yeah.
Dev, like those are all like serial deployer guys, which is so interesting, right? Because like I'll oftentimes find myself fading a Pump Fund because I'm like, oh, this dev is serial dev, and then it's like I can't be doing that, right? Like you never know. I think it really just depends on, like you said, like I think that goes into the wallet thing, right? Like if the ticker's good, if the narrative's good, those things will trump wallets any day, right? Like eventually. Like Moodang took like 3 days, you know, it like died, went to 200K, but if you really believed in it and it was like the first Moodang on the Solana chain and you were really in tune with that narrative, you could have made so much money by just believing in the narrative rather than what wallets held or who the dev was or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's also the case. I think I was kind of slow on the whole Moodang law during the
My
time when
TikTok
it
is
actually
not cute
dropped.
stuff. It's like some crazy ass memes. I'm not gonna lie, it's too esoteric.
Yeah, we had one of the top holders of Moodang on here a couple weeks ago, and
Cool.
we talked to him like about that. I mean, I was super late on it. I didn't even know who the hell that hippo was, but that happening, like, it's not like the first time we've seen like a Bitcoin come off of like TikTok information spread and trends just around like a newer, fresher meme, so to speak. We talked about like how that caused like this whole wave of people looking at trends and comparing trends of different things and cultural stuff across the world. People are still doing that now, like whether it's on like Google search trends or TikTok trends. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at Moodang now, I'm surprised that it had the longevity that it does, if I'm going to be completely honest. I looked at Moodang, and during that first dip, if you were to ask me, that hippo was dead. I did not see any longevity in that thing. I'm still not seeing it. But like the thing is, I mean, even with the CTO Nero on ETH, at that point, you just want something. You just want something that you can tie to for the grandpas and the grandmas to invest in. You know, it's cute. It's a hippo. It's on Binance. They just
Hope
send
that
it.
hippo
You know,
fucking dies.
that's
That'd be great
real.
for the coin.
If the
Sorry.
hippo dies, like the coin's gonna go up more, ain't on.
That's gonna go, Candle.
Stupid hippo.
Iron
They talked
Hitman
about
for
that
my bags.
when Peanut came out, and like the coin goes crazy because the squirrel is killed. Everybody's like saying,
Peanut,
well,
dude, Peanut is like
they
the
like
funniest
ramped up
narrative
security
ever.
for Moodang.
Like the owner's literally
Somebody's
a
gonna
gay
try to kill it.
OnlyFans star, bro. Like, how can you make this shit up?
And he was trying to milk launches too.
And now it's like a mascot
poor
for the
fucking
Republican
squirrel,
Party. Like, this whole thing is just insane.
This poor squirrel dog. Honestly, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Yeah, I remember I sold all of it the second day of the
Good
pump
trade,
at
dude. Good
6
trade.
mil.
You You can't
Sold,
bag on that. It made like $50K.
Yeah, at 6 mil. 6 mil.
Yeah, but then
Wanna
Elon
know
posted the
know
next
what's
day.
at
Like,
now?
how are you supposed to know about that?
You want to know what's at right now?
Shut the fuck up.
Couple more, a little higher than 6.
You're pulling an LTR right now, and you know it's not okay.
It's a little higher than 6.
A little bit, just a little bit. You know, you're fine.
But anyways, we've hit the hour, so we're probably gonna call it quits here.
Yeah,
But-
that was a good talk, though.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Rick. It was such a good time speaking with you.
Yeah,
One of us, for real.
Yeah, Rick, that was awesome, man. I know that
Yeah, thank you.
we've wanted to have you on the pod for a while. I know you did like an AMA once with Banana after that thing, and I'm sure a lot of people will look forward to listening to this one.
Oh yeah,
Drop
for
a lot of
sure.
good knowledge.
We should
Yeah.
link his banana thread after he won the competition. That's a good one.
Sure, we'll link something for you. We'll figure it out. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits here. Thank y'all for listening. Peace out.
Peace.